Hey, writers and readers, welcome to Manuscript Massacre. I'm MC, your master of ceremonies. As always, don't judge a writer by their first drafts, but we want to be constructive, and we're going to be brutal. So today, we're taking a look at Félicette the Star Dog and the Star Dog. I can't pronounce French. Nope. Félicette and the Star Dog. Now remember, if you enjoy these videos, don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell. And if you want to comment along, check us out live over on Twitch. So before we get started, before we get massacring today, I need to make a correction from last week. Previously on Manuscript Massacre.
Charlene stood in the doorway, hesitant to approach the crate. A part of her curtain was strewn over it. She didn't want to know what it had been used for. She was surprised that nobody had broken up the crate for firewood or something. It did give off a vibe, though, as if her screams had been trapped inside, echoing quietly throughout the room.
We had a ton of passive voice, is what I said. And that wasn't entirely true. There was a lot of passive voice between all the was's, were's, is, and are's. That's the passive verbs that make the paragraph passive. But what it had a lot more of is the hads, which is the past perfect tense. And I want to thank Ed from Words by Edward for pointing this out. It's a slightly different context. You still want to reduce your hads wherever you can. The trick is to know when to use them and when not to use them. So when you're using hads, did the event you're talking about happen in the scene you're talking about it? If it did, drop the had. You don't need had. If it happened at some point in the past prior to the scene you're sitting in right this moment, then you can use had because it's the past perfect. So that's the correction there. And now let's move on to Félicette and the Star Dog.
Félicette hated the dark, and she hated her case. Her cramped case, a tiny box that pinned her limbs down, only giving her the freedom to move her head about. That horrid case that squished her in place as she was strapped to a machine and flung about like a toy. The humans called it training. It was an awful experience, but they fed her and the other cats in the end. She couldn't complain, right?
Okay, so what did we learn here? Félicette is in some kind of a cramped tiny box, and she's a cat. And the humans were giving her training and flung around like a toy. I see is in bold. Well, first of all, it was. That is the two stupidest words you can put together. I'm not calling the author stupid. Remember that. It was is one of those evil combinations you want to avoid at all cost. What is an it? Who is it in this sentence? What is it in this sentence? The experience. The experience was awful. Okay, so we got rid of the it, but we still have the was. Okay. The experience left her miserable. Now you got rid of the was. No fuzzy wuzzies. Remember, nix your fuzzy wuzzies. All right. Not a bad start. I think what's nice is that we're talking about a cat. We know that we're talking about some kind of a lab with human training. I made the comment about the bold. I forgot to say. Bold, you don't want to use in your manuscripts. Instead of bold, you use italics. That's the proper manuscript format. If you are submitting to something, instead of italics, you would underline it to represent italics. But in the formatted finished product, it's italics. Don't use bold. Bold would be good for if you have one of those line gaps, and then you have the sign ahead glared at them, single space, and then you have next gas station 30 miles ahead, and then a single line again. That you can put in bold because it's representing a sign. It's taking you a step out of the story for a second to say, look at this sign. then you can use bold. But for emphasis, you just need italics. All right, let's continue.
But this was different than the usual training.
You just did it was, but instead of it was, you used this was, and you use bold again. 3 strikes. You're out. Now, but this was different than you. What is this? We have no definition for this yet. And I'm just going to read ahead here. What were they thinking this? Who is they? Are you talking about the humans? I think you're talking about the humans, but I don't know. Don't assume we know. Make it so there's no confusion. It's nice and clear where we are, who's talking, what we're referring to. So this whole sentence, first sentence, fix it or nix it.
What were they thinking this time? Rather than strapping her to the usual machine, they slipped her inside of this strange, enclosed box. Why was it so loud? The last machine was never this loud. It was never this intense either.
Oof, another it was. Fuzzy wuzzies, fuzzy wuzzies. You're getting me angry. No more fuzzy wuzzies. Stop with the fuzzy wuzzies and stop with the it wases. Was it? It was it? Urgh.
Vibrating, pushing. The sensors on her body pulled at her fur as she shifted in the case. She squeezed her eyes shut as she endured it all. When were they going to turn it off?
This is interesting. A machine. So in the first paragraph, it said it was a machine that was strapped to, or they were strapped to a machine and flung about like a toy, and they were calling it training. And okay, we're back in the machine, but it's worse than it ever was. Based on the title, Star Dog, I have a funny feeling we have a cat astronaut on our hands. Let's see if I'm right.
Finally, she called out, yowling for the humans to make it stop. She knew it was pointless.
It was again. Come on. It was. That's your new favorite phrase. No. Stop it. And right above it, when were they going to turn off? Passive voice. Was, were, are, is. Any of the to be verbs. Get rid of as many of them as you can, please. Just no. Okay, you can have one every 1,000 words or so. You know, if you're pushing it, maybe one every 500, and then it's spread out enough that it doesn't pull the reader away from the story. But this was something that we were talking about before was reader immersion. You can't be immersed in a story if you're paying so much attention to the language. How you word things dictates where the reader is in the story. Are they a person who is experiencing the story? They are fully immersed. Are they a person who is witnessing someone else in their story, having a story? They are further back. Are they listening to someone tell them about what somebody else is doing? Then they are so far back, they have zero interest. They are not immersed. It's like a movie theater. If you are watching the movie and you get so fixed into the story that you forget you're sitting in a theater. You're in the movie. You're experiencing every sound, every sight, the lights flashing. You could almost smell what's happening. You could swear like explosions and gunfire, that you could smell the gunpowder, feel the explosion hit you in the chest. That's immersion. In books, it's how you word things. So picture the movie theater. Now, when you break immersion, that's like somebody's cell phone going off. It rips you out of the movie. Now you know you're in a theater again, and you have to take a few minutes to get back into the movie. Boring, annoying, kills the story. So all of this passive voice, all of these it wases and was its, are just dragging the story along and making it hard to, and distancing the reader from the actual story itself.
He never turned off the machine when she cried out before. But it was so intense to bear. What else could she do? The pressure of the machine squeezed against her body. Were they going to pop her like a cork? Then a strange thing happened. As the sounds continued, the pressure dropped. Was the big machine powering down? Was she going to be let out? She opened her eyes slowly, expecting to see darkness.
I'm going to pause there because it looks like the paragraph flips over. We have a line break there, which is weird. I don't think that's a scene break. So that's just a formatting issue. And I need to apologize for the bold it was as before. I think I have an edited copy, and I took out all the edits, but I think the it was bold was actually an editor who highlighted how many it was as there were. And now I say were. I'm using passive voice. Shame on me. Shame. But, okay, so yeah, it definitely sounds like the cat's getting up into space, and now things are going to start to happen. I think it's coming. All right. Opened her eyes slowly, expected to see darkness.
But instead, she was greeted with a large nose. Immediately.
A large nose? Well, that is not what I was expecting. I have no notes. Let's see.
Félicette pinned her ears back and hissed. She had seen dogs before, but what was one doing here?
So maybe she's not in space.
There wasn't one in the machine when she was loaded in. Why wasn't it in a case like her? And why did the machine suddenly feel more spacious inside to even fit another creature? Hello.
What? Who now? It wasn't a dog when she was loaded in, and it's not in a case. Okay, that I get. Why did the machine suddenly feel more spacious inside? Are we in a TARDIS? Did it just get bigger on the inside? I think she's trying to I think the author here is trying to describe something specific happening, like a capsule opening or something like that. I think that's the gist, but I'm guessing. I don't know that. It's very hard to translate specifics for technobabble from a cat's perspective. So I'll give them credit there that to make it sound or to describe things from the cat's perspective is going to be challenging. But be more thorough than that, and it'll help. Suddenly feeling more spacious, what does that mean? Did the room open up? Did something change? Did the walls move out? Was there a window and now the window's further away? What's outside the window? Give us those extra details, and that'll help compensate for the lack of technobabble.
Said the dog, with its long snout and floppy ears. I never thought I'd see one of you again.
One of me? Asked Félicette. Have you not seen a cat before?
Oh, wow. Word just decided, oh, Félicette must be French. Let's switch to a French accent. Oh, bravo, bravissimo. Oh, I can't wait for this.
What?
Oh, yes, responded the dog. Lots of them when I was on the streets. My friends and I loved to chase them. That was before the humans caught me and sent me here. Are they sending cats now, too? Félicette tried shaking her head to clear her vision. But her restraints were tight and made it difficult. The sensation pulled on her head implant and made her dizzy. I don't know. Where is here? Aren't we in training? And how can you be here without a case?
Like I get what the dog was saying there. Small grammar gripe. Oh, comma yes. A lot of sentences you have these one word things at the beginning that almost nobody puts commas to. If you decide to use Grammarly, they will hammer you over the head with commas. Pro Writing Aid will hammer you over the head with other things, but Grammarly loves to go after you for commas. So, oh, comma, yes, responded the dog. That's one. Where the restraints were difficult, that makes sense. The head implant made. How did the cat know that the head implant? What? How does it know? How does she? I guess the cat. How does she know that the head implant is what's making her dizzy? How does she know what a head implant is? You avoided the technobabble before, and now you gave in here and said head implant. You could say, her head hurt, where the humans played with your head while you were asleep, and it constantly itches, and you feel pain. You could describe that there. Maybe you try to scratch at it and you can't still. Maybe there's a cone. But as far as dizziness goes, the cat's dizzy. The cat can't know that it was the chip doing it. Why is there a single quote F? Oh, I see. There's a formatting issue here. But when you say where is here and you have quotes around it, why do we need quotes around here? You can make it italics, and then here is emphasized. Where is here? Okay. And then you say, aren't we in training? We? She's never seen this dog before. What's this we? She's saying we in this case, but she's referring to herself and her surroundings. That's not a huge gripe. I think that's fine. But I think it would make more sense to say, like, isn't this supposed to be training? And why aren't you in a case? Not how can you be here without a case? The sentence works. It's just a lot more words than you need. And I'm rambling now, so let's keep moving.
The dog tilted her head, then sneezed. You don't know? Well, you probably wouldn't since you can't see outside. But we're up high. Higher than the birds and clouds. She licked her snout and sniffed the air.
That sounds like space again. Okay. Hello, welcome, Mango King. Cool. Let's continue where we are.
It's not as high as my humans sent me, but I smelled you coming from way down here and just had to investigate.
Now, if you're coming in blind on that one, smelled you coming in here makes sense because they're a dog. Isn't it? I can imagine how that sounds without context.
Félicette wrinkled her nose. I don't understand. The dog perked. Oh, well, you see, outside there are these things called birds dash. I know.
Birds dash. You're using a hyphen instead of an M dash. That's why I didn't understand that. M dash would be you're getting cut off.
Know very well what birds are, snapped Félicette. I mean, if we're so high up and you smelled me coming, then does that mean? The dog blinked slowly and Félicette could finally see.
Okay. Why? So if they're up in space, what is the dog smelling? I mean, if they're inside the cabin, there's smell, but if they're in space, definitely not. A dog's nose. Well, I mean, it sounds like you're getting a little paranormal here with a dog floating around in space, so maybe you're just breaking the rules altogether. But if the dog was outside the capsule, they wouldn't smell the cat. They might see the cat, unless there's some sort of a cosmic smell you're talking about now. But well, maybe this sounds like you're mixing sci-fi and fantasy a little bit, so that could be interesting.
It was common knowledge that cats could speak to those on the other side, those that were here once upon a time, but not anymore by touch or scent. It had been a long time since she saw one for herself, not since before her humans came and got her and started training her for her case and putting strange things on her head.
Okay. So we got cat seeking on the other side. That makes more sense than why the dog is smelling. So I'll let that go. That's fine. But yeah, it had been. Did you catch that? It had been. So we talked about the hads before with my correction from last week. Hads is past perfect. If it occurs in this scene, drop the had. If it occurred prior to the scene, use had. But in this case, there's no it. We don't know what it is. A long time had passed since she saw one for herself. And in that case, had works, but you don't need the it.
Passed on ones could be identified by many traits. Sometimes their coats shimmered in a strange color. Sometimes they had no scent. Sometimes their bodies carried on the scars that killed them. This dog was strange. Félicette almost couldn't see it at first, but when the dog blinked, its frame was replaced by a deep void littered in hundreds. No, thousands, no, countless glowing stars.
When you have third person limited, the narrator is yes, actually that is a cool image. The imagery there is pretty great if you remove all the was's. And however, the hesitation there, the thought bubble in the narration is a little confusing. So if you have a deep void littered in hundreds, no, thousands, no, countless glowing stars, that's the cat's thoughts. So if you're going to do that, have the cat thinking about it and make it a thought bubble. If this was first person, where I see this and I do this, or, I said this and I did that, then you could put that kind of hesitation and rewording, no thousands, no countless. Then you could put that in. But in third person limited, the thoughts of the POV character, but you're not in the head of the POV character. And that's important. It's an important distinction. So if you want that, use a thought bubble. If not, just pull out that hesitation. That restructuring. You don't need it. It's okay. It works. And like Mango King over there pointed out, the imagery works great. So if you nix it, nothing wrong with that paragraph other than and all the was's. Fix the was's.
Stars that shifted and panned across her body as if she was a living window. Félicette's breath caught in her throat. Carefully, she found her words. "Who are you?" The dog panted in excitement.
Okay. A breath caught in her throat is cliche, but it's vivid. It works. So I see nothing wrong with it. You want to watch out so you don't overuse cliches. Avoid them when you can. Use your own words. Similes, I'll say, are notorious. Similes are almost always, you couldn't think of a good word, so you're trying to pull from somewhere else and use that instead like an excuse. Can't do that. But here, a little cliche like that, perfectly fine.
Oh, apologies. I did not introduce myself. I didn't have a name when I was on the streets, but the humans that caught me named me Laika.
Look, well, I'm Félicette.
And there it goes back to the French accent again.
It's nice to meet you, Félicette.
You too. Félicette swallowed, then licked her nose. Did you? Did you pass up here? Laika sneezed, a cloud of stardust puffing from her nose. Up here? Oh no. Félicette cocked her head as the dog pointed up with her nose. Much, much farther away from Earth.
Interesting. Stardust puffing from her nose? Are you talking about like meteorite dust, or are you trying to be a little more metaphorical here, like, breathing out little stars, little twinkles? I'm just picturing like a nose full of black soot.
Ruth asked Félicette.
Edith. That's a new one. Oh, there goes my hat. Edith.
Where we're from, answered Laika. I wish you could see it from up here. It's big and blue and beautiful. My ship had a window that I could see out of. I wish yours did. Félicette shifted in her case. I'll take your word for it. The tip of her tail twitched where it was pressed against her. Am I to die up here as well?
Hang on a second. Why would you not give the poor cat a window? That seems a little... like, it's probably true. This is probably, like, theoretically based on a true story, because Laika, that's the Russian dog, isn't it? The Russian dog who went up into space. So this is probably, like, either the Americans or another Russian sending the cat up. So maybe they didn't have a window in historical reality, but I think you should give them a window, because then, and rather than the dog saying, oh, it's the big, blue, and beautiful, the cat can experience it going, what the hell is that giant blue marble? And just picture the cat eyes going wide, like, I must have this ball. Yeah, that would give you that great imagery, even if it violates history a little bit.
Laika stopped panting, then slowly turned to look back at the cat. Her ears folded back, and she carefully glided over. She nudged Félicette with her nose. Well, you're closer to the ground than I was, and it seems like you're about to turn back.
That's a smart dog to know that's... How does the dog know that the rocket's turning around? And how do you know it's not just going to burn up in the atmosphere?
Laika giggled. A flash of colors zipped across her frame.
A flash of colors. That's not descriptive enough for me. What does that mean? Does that mean a rainbow zipped across her frame? I think you should split that paragraph where it says, nudged Félicette with her nose, new paragraph. Because if you do that, the back and forth between dialogue, description, dialogue would be cleaner and easier to read. Small thing. But the collars zipped across her frame, I think that's cool. But I think you can do a better job describing that and give us that cool paranormal ghost space dog imagery.
You'll be fine. You're a cat. They're great at falling. Maybe that's why they sent you up here instead of another dog.
So Mango King says, there's also a double indent. I think that's a formatting issue. Oh, yeah, right there. Big and bold. You got that right. We're also in read mode, so there could be slight differences, but in this case, no, that's got to be something's off there.
Félicette perked. I'm going home? Laika began panting again. Looks like it at least. Maybe your humans will be excited. I'm not sure. They seemed casual when they put me in here. That's why I thought it was a regular test. Laika tilted her head the other way, then grew dark. My humans were sad when they put me away. They kissed me goodbye. I think they knew I wouldn't make it. Félicette reached out with her nose. They knew. Laika shrugged. Why else would they be so sad?
They must have loved you very much.
Just randomly picks when to throw the accent in, when not to throw the accent in. I like that back and forth dialogue. That's really good back and forth dialogue right there. And you have just enough dialogue tags, maybe a little too many, but it's fine. It's easy to read. It's easy to know exactly who's speaking and when they're speaking, and it's a really good back and forth.
Laika hovered in front of Félicette, drifting, dark, a living void, before the twinkling stars began to ignite again. She shined brightly now, panting. Yeah, they must have. And if they were so sure I was to die up here, then maybe their calmness with you means they're sure you'll be safe. Félicette slow blinked, a cat's grin.
Slow blinked a cat's grin. I'm sorry, but how do you blink in the shape of a cat's grin? I'm not sure what you were trying to describe there, but I get it. I think what she was trying to say here was the slow blink is the equivalent to a cat's grin. But because you mix the two together like that, I didn't get it at first. I had to like stop, reread it a couple times and go, oh, that's what she meant. And you don't want the reader to do that. You could say she Félicette blinked her eyes slowly to show her appreciation. That's enough. And that would explain it. And then suddenly right here, suddenly is one of those overused words that is like the equivalent of like dramatic pause. Suddenly. That's something they use in like the old 80s cartoons. Suddenly, and then you scene transition. More often than not, you do not need suddenly. You could say, and then I see she felt. Okay. Felt is also one of those things that points out telling emotions. We've talked about this in other episodes. Whenever you see felt, it usually means you're telling something instead of showing us. Suddenly, she felt a shift in her vessel. You just went back to technobabble. The cat doesn't know what a vessel is, so you can't say vessel. Her enclosure, you could say her enclosure. That's fine. But cat doesn't know what a vessel is. And instead of suddenly she felt a shift in her vessel or her enclosure, you could say the closure around her jerked. And that's it. Because the jerk implies that something happened immediately. And it happened sharply. It shook. That's all you need. Jerk. Don't use suddenly, just be a jerk.
Suddenly, she felt a shift in her vessel. The pressure was coming back, but this time in a different direction. She looked back to Laika, a window to the stars, planets, the ever yonder. I'm happy I met you, Laika. You're one of the kindest dogs I've ever crossed paths with. Laika giggled as she began to shrink, almost as if she was being pulled away. You too. Félicette, thanks for letting me chase you. Félicette paused.
Chase? The cat was stuck in a cage. What? There was no chase. I don't remember. Krabs, maybe you know. Mango, I don't think you were on yet. But I think the dog came up to see Félicette. But I don't think there was a chase. I mean, that would have been cool if Félicette let her out of her cage, only to chase her around. That would be kind of interesting, but I don't think the conversation would have been as pleasant if the cat was running for its life at the time. Catch up with you maybe, but I get the imagery at least. So maybe just reword it a little, make it A, fit with what you had before, and B, just a pleasant experience together. How you want to word that?
Unsure of what else to say, Laika grew smaller and smaller in view. Finally, she blurted out. Finally is just like suddenly. It's one of those words you don't need that. Before it was too late. I mean, it's a lot more words, but at the same time, the imagery is clearer than finally. Finally. No, you don't need finally. I'll say hello to you from below, and I'll tell the other cats about you. A faint voice answered back. I hope your humans are good to you when you come back to them. Félicette grimaced as the pressure intensified. Grimaced? That's a valid word, but last I checked, it was called grimaced. Coming back down was likely going to be much harder than going up. How would the cat know that? Was she going to make it after all? Or would she end up like Laika? No. Can't think about that now. No, she won't. Oof. You just combined, you're combining a thought bubble with narration and mixing and matching here. You have the thought bubbles. It's okay to have thought bubbles. All you need for a thought bubble is, instead of a line of dialogue with quotes around it, it's just a line of dialogue without quotes and put in italics, and just put it on its own paragraph so that it stands out as separate. It's, will I make it back after all, or will I end up like Laika? Nope, can't think about that right now. Just focus, and then you go back to narration. She pinned her ears back and braced. She pinned her ears back and braced whatever she could. She couldn't do much, but she knew one thing, and she knew it from experience. Cats were good at falling. Laika was right about that. Perhaps she'll be right about the humans as well, and that they'll welcome her with happiness.
ألتزم رباطيو.
There we go. One more French accent for the road. Alrighty. So that was the end of the story. I gotta say, it's a very cute story, honestly. If it wasn't for so many was's and wers and was's and wers and it was and was it's, the story would actually be a pretty nice little tale, blending fiction and history together into with a little bit of fantasy and paranormal mixed in. So as a short story idea, pretty decent. You just got to clean up that prose a lot so that it helps bring the reader in more. Your dialogue is pretty good, actually, at doing that. Your dialogue, the back and forth between Félicette and Laika, it is pretty nice. So let's wrap things up. There we go. So that was Félicette and no worries, Malgo. So that was Félicette and the dog and the space dog, Star Dog. Pretty interesting. And like I said, I will always give compliments and constructive criticism equally, wherever they are due. And I think with enough rework, this is a cute short story. And that's all I have for this time. Thank you, Mango King and Captain Krabs, for showing up. I'm always happy to hear feedback. Things what did I miss? What do you think I could have picked on more? Or what are the types of stories you'd like to see next? And if you want to contribute your own stories to be critiqued, check out the Discord server. Check out manuscriptmassacre.com. And there's a link for the Discord sign up. Basically, it'll shoot me an email, and then I'll send you an invite link. You can submit your own critiques up to like 2,500 words max. And if things runs out of time, we'll see. And the author stays anonymous unless you really, really want your name out there, depending on the quality of the constructive criticism. But that's why I say, don't judge an author by their first drafts. What you see at the beginning and what you see at the end is the sausage being made, and people learn a lot and grow over time. So thanks again for watching, and thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe on Twitch, and again over on YouTube. I stream every Wednesday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Twitch, and hopefully this episode will be edited within 2 days or 3 days, and I will upload it to YouTube. So until next time, thanks for joining us all. Cheers.